Yo, check this out.
Previously heard. Good Hope FM. Let's go. It's your weekly wellness check-in.
Welcome to the good life.
This is Good Living with Bradley Knight on Good Hope FM.
The wait is over.
We do it each and every Thursday at this time. We catch up with our resident psychologist, Bradley Knight. Today we talk about stress and anxiety and explore helpful ways to cope with it. Something that I think we can pretty much almost all relate to at some point or the other.
Every single one of us, every single day.
Right.
Some people wake up with anxiety. Others can't even go sleep at night because of it as well, because of stress in their lives. Mr. Bradley Knight, welcome back. We have to get into this conversation to save the people.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm very stressed and anxious right now, actually.
Tell us more.
Hey, man, listen, if you live long enough, you're going to be stressed and anxious. It's just a very normal human experience. And I think it's a very important conversation to have today on Good Living.
Bradley, we can start maybe by defining stress and anxiety. I think that we often use those terms interchangeably.
That's right. Look, stress and anxiety, there is a fine line, and I think important that we kind of distinguish what that is. So stress, we would define stress as it's a physical and it's an emotional response to facing any kind of challenging or demanding situation, but it's a very specific situation or stressor that you're facing, and it doesn't last. All right, there's a very clear stressor. It takes place. It happens. Like, for example, having to do a presentation to the bosses, or having to write an exam. Stress would be the physical and emotional response to that. While anxiety, slightly different. That's more of a feeling. It's a feeling of worry. There's apprehension. There's an uneasiness in some way.
Okay.
But there doesn't necessarily have to be a very clear external threat involved here. Sometimes also anxiety can be a response to stress. And very important to understand why that sometimes they confuse this, because the effect of stress can be mental and physical. What am I meaning by that? Stress can affect you at a level of your concentration, your mood. You can become quite irritable. You might get quite angry. In your body, you might experience a lot of physical tension, as one would, for example, if you had to go and write an exam. It might affect your concentration levels. It might affect your ability to sleep. You might struggle to sleep if you're very stressed out about something. Years of anxiety is very similar as well, because if it becomes problematic, and it can affect you in the same way. Same kind of effect, right? And I think that's often where people then get confused, is because anxiety can also affect you like that. It can affect you in terms of your level of concentration, your ability to sleep, your level of mood. You could become quite irritable. So there's that is part of the reason why. And truth be told, there's a bit of a debate on what's the difference, how are they the same, how are they different. I think I'm just going to take the very kind of established view on that is how we understand it to be different. Stress is a very specific stressor or situation you're facing. It comes and goes, and when it leaves, the stress resolves. Anxiety is something that might continue on for a prolonged period of time, and without a specific stressor necessarily.
Understood.
There's a lot of worrying involved with anxiety.
100%. And I'm glad you're bringing this up, because in my 20s, I wasn't diagnosed, but I swear I had general anxiety. And people were like, what are you stressed about? What's triggering it? And I couldn't explain it. I would just wake up intensely anxious all day, every day. It affected me socially as well. It would continue for a very long time. I had anxiety and panic attacks because I wasn't managing it, and I wasn't, nobody was talking about it. I thought I was going crazy. Where eventually, conversations like this actually help you to feel like you're not alone.
Very normal. And we want to talk about how to handle that, because sometimes people can turn to very unhealthy habits as a way to handle stress and anxiety. Okay, so I think also with stress, let's also determine the difference between what we call acute stress and chronic stress. So acute stress would pass very quickly. So it's a meeting you have to be at. It's an exam you have to write. It's an argument with the partner that passes. Chronic stress is not going to let up. It's something that's happening all the time. It's a toxic relationship, for example. It's ongoing financial problems.
I see.
All right. And so stress, unfortunately, gets a bad rap, a bad name, right? Because I'm stressed. Do you know that stress is actually designed to help you? In situations that you're facing something that your brain is deeming to be demanding and challenging, and it's actually setting you up and priming you to handle that in the best way possible.
Wow.
And I'd like to tell you a little bit more about how that actually works. I find it incredible. All right, there's something in our bodies called the body's stress response system, and the brain is very involved with this. So let me break this down for you. What happens is in our minds, in our brain, there's a part of the brain called the amygdala. Have you heard of the amygdala before?
Yeah.
Amygdala, Dala is a nice way to remember. Dala what you must. So the amygdala does what it must do. It is a very important part of the brain, and what it does is it perceives any threat to our survival, and it immediately acts in order to get us primed to handle that situation as best as possible. So this is what it does. Listen to this. Incredible. It sends a distress signal. The moment it picks up on any kind of threat, sends this distress signal to the command center of the brain. What happens there is that our sympathetic nervous system gets activated, and what that does is it sends all of these signals to our adrenal glands, and the adrenaline gets released in a split second. And what does that do? It changes such a lot of stuff. Physiological changes take place in our body. This is why you need to understand why your heart is beating faster, because the brain has activated it in order to prime you to survive. So now your heart's beating faster. Why is your heart beating faster? It's getting blood pumped faster to your muscles so that you can go into fight or flight mode to survive that situation. Your breathing becomes more rapid. Why is that? Because your tiny little airways in your lungs are opening up to take in more oxygen to send that to the brain so that you are more alert. All right, we do know that our sense of hearing and sight all improves because of that particular situation. And what that adrenaline also does is also very important to note, is that if it was going to trigger the glucose and the fats that are also stored in our body, which is going to supply the energy, I think what I'm trying to say is the takeaway is stress is not trying to get in the way.
Yeah.
It's trying to help you.
It's actually trying to help you.
Yeah.
If you were in a life-threatening situation. Here's the problem, guys. The same system can be triggered by a non-life-threatening situation.
That's the thing.
Like a presentation.
Like a presentation.
Yeah.
A speech.
Absolutely. And now the same stuff's happening. Your heart's beating faster, but you're not having to run. You've got all this adrenaline and cortisol surging through your system, but you're standing still, and so why do you think you're getting the shakes?
Yeah.
All right, your breathing
Sweaty
has changed.
palms.
Sweaty palms, because it's expecting that you're fighting or taking flight. So, unfortunately, sometimes it can be a false alarm. And the great news is that there are ways to intervene for that. I think first and foremost, you need to understand that you need to know whether it's a life-threatening situation or not. Because if it is life-threatening, you actually do need that part of the brain to stimulate, get your body's stress response system going and survive the moment.
Yeah.
But look at what would happen. I mean, I don't know if there were lions in the Sea Point area many centuries ago. I'm sure it's called Lion's Head for good reason.
Yes.
But if we were sitting here a couple of centuries ago and we heard a lion roar, what do you think would happen?
I'd freeze personally.
Yeah. The hairs on your
That
arms
you notice
stand
that
up.
because sometimes if the brain can't make a decision between what's the best option of survival, fight or flight, am I going to freeze mode? Hoping that is the best. But if we heard a lion roar, immediately that amygdala would say, that's life-threatening, you need to run.
Yep.
So to climb up a tree or get away is going to require that all of those changes happen in your body. But if it's triggered unexpectedly by something that's not life-threatening, it's a good time to learn what to do in a situation like that. I'm going to show you what I regard as a superpower that we have as human beings that will help us cope better when we find ourselves being stressed to the point where the stress response system is working against us.
Okay.
Because if you're chronically stressed, guess what's going to happen? It is going to affect your body.
Yeah.
There is a strong mind-body connection. And even as I'm sitting here speaking with you now, I'm experiencing this myself in my own mind.
Okay.
I'm noticing that there is an increased heart rate. I'm noticing that there is drying of the mouth. And why is that? Because for some reason, the mind is thinking, is this threatening? Is this life-threatening? And yet I know that it's not, right?
Yeah.
And so what do? There are things that we can do to intervene to help that situation. Being a psychologist doesn't mean we're immune to experiencing
You're
things.
still a human.
You're
Yeah.
still human. And so the body stress response system is not there to work against you. It, in fact, is important to understand how it works and why it's working. And ultimately, when it's working against you, what it is that you can do to help yourself get out of that situation. So I think in the next segment, I'm going to introduce you to an ability to slow down this orchestrated response so that it doesn't work against you.
Yeah.
Now, anxiety, guys. What do we do in a situation like that? As psychologists, we are taught various techniques to help people to deal with the kind of worrying thoughts that get in the way of us being able to function properly. And I cannot wait to tell you about one of probably the most effective techniques that's been used for decades now that I would like to give you a brief introduction to today. And if it's something that actually resonates with you, then I would say you could probably go and get some self-help books on this. Sure. Or, if necessary, go and see a trained mental health professional who can help you with this. So we're going to get to that in the next segment. But the takeaway for the moment right now is that stress, it's not the bad guy.
Yeah.
All right. But sometimes when we're stressed, just remember, it's the brain detecting what it deems to be a threat.
Yeah.
It's just doing its job. And sometimes when it's getting in its own way, there are ways to manage it better. And I'm going to introduce you to some of that in a moment.
Incredible stuff. Bradley Knight with us, our resident psychologist, sharing some more information regarding stress and anxiety and the differences and similarities between them.
Welcome to the good life.
It's your weekly wellness check-in.
Welcome to the good life.
This is Good Living with Bradley Knight on Good Hope FM.
The wait is over.
The wait is over. We're still getting into the second half of Good Living with Bradley Knight, and we thank him so much for being here, spreading the knowledge. Now, this week, our resident psychologist, Mr. Bradley Knight, talks stress and anxiety, but also, importantly, explores helpful ways to cope with it.
Listen, guys, just thanks again to everybody for tuning in today. It's such an important thing. And again, thanks to Good Hope FM and you guys for providing a platform to talk about mental health. It's such important conversations. Stress and anxiety, it's so broad a topic, and it's probably we're just touching the tip of the iceberg today, and hopefully we can get back to it. And it's something that, like I said, is very normal. This is not about pathologizing, giving people labels and say, okay, now you have an anxiety disorder.
Yeah.
All right. Normal anxiety, normal to be anxious. We're human. We face challenges depending on the upbringing you've had, the kind of life experiences you've had. You can tell that is going to have an impact on the kinds of beliefs that you might start to formulate about yourself, your future, how people are going to treat you. And that all in the background becomes the software that you draw on as an operating system when you're facing life situations. So stress, anxiety, it's a day-to-day thing. Let me just quickly come to when anxiety is problematic. As mental health professionals, psychologists and psychiatrists, we will say mental health is being a concern here is when it is ongoing. It's an ongoing thing. All right. We check whether there's a struggle. Is this person struggling to control that anxiety? How's it affecting them? Are they being restless about it? Are they being snappy? Are they being affected in terms of their energy levels have completely dropped? Is it affecting their concentration, their muscle tension, sleep disturbance? Are they not functioning anymore? Is the distress so intense that they can't even function in their school life, work life, personal life? In a case like that, please go and seek professional help to deal with it. But with normal anxiety, mild stress, there are things you can do that will help, all right, in the situation and preventatively. So let me get back to the basics. Firstly, please make sure physical activity is a part of what you do for a living. Okay, as part of your lifestyle. There's so many studies, research studies that show that moderate exercise has a positive impact on your mental well-being. That doesn't have to mean you're going to be in the gym 24/7, but just to walk around the block, just a couple of burpees, even just going to YouTube and joining one of those exercises. It makes a difference to handle stress levels and even how anxiety is impacting you. So please make sure that physical activity is a part of your life. You were telling me you're fair.
Yeah, I was saying,
this is helping you.
Yeah, it helps me a lot when I'm going for a run. There's so many good things I get out of it, and people say, Chad, you're always running or exercising, why are you doing this? I say, well, it's part of what keeps me together. It's part of what keeps me focused. It's part of what releases stress, any anxiety, anything that I feel I need to think about. And then there's the topic of breathing.
Yeah, we're going to get to that in a moment. It makes a huge difference.
This morning I was running and I was concentrating on my breathing. And then I realized, wow, I actually spend time thinking about breathing while I'm running.
That's right.
And breathing is
if you're going to be
connected.
able to regulate your breathing, especially in a stressful situation like I'm going to just do right now, it makes a huge difference. Nobody's immune to this. You just need the tools to cope differently. Healthy diet. So specifically speaking to those who are studying right now, if you're tending to have your junk food with you while you're busy studying, not helpful, okay? Very important that you understand that if you're very stressed out, the cortisol that's being released there, if it joins up with that glucose, with all it's being released during that chronic stress, it's going to cause sugar cravings. If you're going to pump that in and that cortisol teams up with the sugar, guess what's going to happen? It's going to lead to those fatty deposits, especially around the tummy area, okay, the visceral fat. Long term, cardiovascular problems. It's very important that you also understand, how about just regular exercise, eating well? How about just getting good sleep? The golden rule, try to get to bed the same day you woke up, right? So if you woke up 8 o'clock, make sure you're in bed before 12 midnight because you want to get your 7 to 8 hours. Very important, all right, that you try and get good sleep. On that note, the doom scrolling that happens with the cell phone, that blue light that's being emitted from your screen is going to keep you awake. It's the same color as the blue sky outside. And when we see a blue sky, what does our brain say? You need to be wide awake.
Time to
and
go.
now it's seeing blue light coming through a screen. It's going to hold back the melatonin that's going to try and get you to fall asleep. So there you are, scrolling away.
We think it helps.
Hoping that you're going to fall asleep. It's actually self-sabotaging.
Sure.
Get social support. Connect with those that you care about and that care about you. Basic stuff. Breathing. Why is this important? Who would have thought that regulating your breathing would be one of the ways that you could regulate the body's stress response system? So I think the best way to do this, if you're driving, you can do this, but please stay focused on the road.
Don't close your eyes whilst you're doing it.
There's no
closing your eyes.
and no need to close your eyes for this one. Right. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to ask you to get ready to play a little clip for me there, and the start of it is going to explain a little bit about how breathing helps us. And then the best part of all, we're going to go through a process of doing this together. Won't you just join us? It's a very simple exercise, and all you're doing is slowing your breathing down as one of the ways of helping your body's stress response system just respond to the fact that you are not in a life-threatening situation. So let's have a listen.
Deep breathing is a simple exercise that involves consciously slowing and deepening your breathing. Research has demonstrated many health benefits of deep breathing. In this guide, we will focus on its use for stress management and relaxation.
All right, I'm going to come in here and just guide
Breathe
you through.
in.
All right, so breathe in through your nose very gently.
Hold.
So you're holding your breath.
Breathe out.
So breathe out gently through your mouth like you're breathing through a straw. Just very gentle.
Breathe in.
Breathe in through your nose. Very gentle.
Hold.
Hold your breath.
Breathe out.
Breathe out very gently through your mouth like you're breathing through a straw. It's very slow.
Breathe in.
Breathing in now. Very gentle through the nose.
Hold.
You're holding your breath for a couple of seconds.
Breathe out.
Breathing out through the mouth. Very gentle.
Breathe in.
In through the nose. Very gentle.
Hold.
Holding your breath.
Breathe out.
Out through the mouth. Almost there.
Breathe in.
In through the nose.
Hold.
Holding your breath just for a few seconds.
Breathe out.
And out through your mouth. Like an invisible straw. Here we go.
Breathe in.
Here we go. In through the nose. Just the last one.
Hold.
Holding it.
Breathe out.
Out through the mouth. There we go.
You've completed the deep breathing exercise. Be sure to practice daily for the full benefit of this skill.
There we go. All right. So when could you use that? Just before you're about to write an exam.
Yeah.
If you have a situation where you're deeming you're in danger in an exam room, if you just do that, maybe we did about 5. If you did about
6,
10, just about somewhere between 8 to 10 of them, you're going to be communicating with your amygdala to say, you know what, good job, but we're not in danger. I'm actually okay. So you can stop with all of that hectic work that you're doing so that I can get my prefrontal cortex back, my boardroom of my brain, so that I can actually think and do great on this exam.
Wow.
I'd like you to practice that.
What I really loved about that too is that I think one thing about anxiety, it takes you out of the moment. You're thinking about what happened just now with that conversation or your stress
A
problems.
worst case scenario is going to take place.
Or the
Yes.
future,
Yeah.
exactly, which is so uncertain. But breathing helps you to be right here, right now.
Brings you back to the present moment. Because, I mean, future out of your hands, right?
Yeah.
Past is out of your hands.
Yeah.
There's stuff you can do in the present that's
Yeah.
in your hands that if you did it, it'll have an effect on the outcome.
Wow, Bradley Knight, it's been fantastic. I love the fact that we had a practical exercise together.
Absolutely.
Experiencing it together, and also any listeners who were able to join us on that, we'd love to hear exactly how that went for you.
But it's the best thing as well because you can practice this anywhere.
Yeah.
Anywhere.
You can be in your car, you can be just about to go into a meeting, whatever the situation. You can practice this and no one around you even needs to know that you're doing
Right.
it.
That's
You can do
right.
it with your eyes open. So
And
use
practice
it.
is what you need to
Yeah,
do.
it is a practice.
All right, it's not something we're born with naturally to just do this.
Yeah.
It's a skill.
Yeah.
You've got to practice it, and don't do it for too long because you're not meant to breathe at that rate
Level.
normally.
Yeah.
Let your brain take over the normal breathing rate. But if you did about 6 to 10 of those, you might start to notice that the brain picks up on the fact that there's no way your
okay.
life would be in danger
Yeah.
if you're breathing slowly.
Yeah.
So things must be okay.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
it'll then do what it needs to do in order to just calm down the situation on the inside so that you can take care of business.
Beautiful. Bradley Knight, good living with Brad. But Brad, thank you so much for being here.
We appreciate you, and we'll see you next week. And looking forward to another time spent together, just learning more about exactly how we get living good with Bradley Knight.
Feel it. For more, tune in to goodhopefm.co.za.
It's all you need.